People, Deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning back in each and every time. Now, we know there's 3 games left for Arsenal to play before this disastrous season, and it has been one, and it's also been a long one, is done. Obviously, on Saturday, tomorrow, it's Arsenal versus City. It's the semi-finals. In short, 90 minutes away from returning to Wembley. Obviously, there's extra time and things like that, but we need to win. Now, we know, do we need to even talk tactics with City? We know City are still a terrific side. We know what's happened in terms of the league campaign and who's won it and stuff. But we know Man City are a team with top to world-class individuals across every, fullback is probably the weakest area for them. Like, I think Mendy's good, but I don't think he's world-class. I don't think any of their other fullbacks are world-class. I think Walker previously was. I still think Walker is still... But you know what? I'm not exclude Walker because he's got a case to be up there with the best fullbacks and stuff. But I think that's probably the only area you could debate. They've got crazy depth. They've got crazy individuals. Even their C team smacks us 5-0. We know what to expect. We know, well, ironically, they only beat Bournemouth 2-1. I say only because they've been blitzing teams. They put Liverpool to the sword and won 4-0. Obviously, we beat Liverpool as well, so that should give us some confidence. I'm playing. But, like I said, they put Liverpool to the sword. They've been turning over a couple of teams 5 or so 0. We as Arsenal fans know exactly how good they are as players. We know, Raheem Sterling. We know what he does against Arsenal. Sergio Aguero, Gab Jesus, Bernardo Silva, Mahrez, Kevin De Bruyne. All of these players. Doesn't matter who they put out. We know what to expect. We know against City, they're a very smart team. Players make runs for the ball, but players make runs purely to disrupt our team shape. So for me, we know what to expect, and most crucially, you know what to expect if you don't remain concentrated. Look at the 3 goals they shipped against us in the league. City will punish poor mistakes. City will punish that. And even going back to that game, as good as City are as a team, we gave them goals because we chose to switch off with obviously red cards and things that were happening. Don't do that again. You're 90 minutes from potentially being in the Europa League. Well, I say 90 minutes, 180 minutes from being in the Europa League. Now, nobody wakes up one day and says, I want to be a Europa League footballer and things. And I get it from a pride point of view, from a personal point of view. I don't want to be in Europa League. I hate it. Like, I truthfully hate it. I hate that it plays at 6 o'clock. With all due respect, when it was, what was it called before Europa? When it was UEFA, there was a bit more prestige in it. But let's be honest, it's a competition for failures. That doesn't mean everybody's in it's a failure. What I mean by that is you get into the Europa League because you're not in the champs. People that haven't got through in the champs get down to Europa League. Like, nobody wants to be in this. Unless, obviously, if you're a team that's, what I'm saying, obviously there's adjusted expectations, but generally it's a team for B-listers, a teams for has-beens, a teams for can't-be's, a team for people that just simply aren't good enough. And it's mad long. It's mad long. Selfishly, they're my selfish reasons. I don't like having to run home from work to review us, and I do get what people are saying about the sporting logic potentially about not being in the Europa League, playing once a week, maybe twice when the cup games come about. I get the logic, but to be honest, beyond my own pride and my own ego and us not wanting to be in top 4 in Europa League, it makes full sense for Arsenal to take this very seriously, for Arsenal to get Europa League football. We stand to miss out on 30 million. We stand to not be in Europe in full stop Europe in any capacity since I believe 94, 95 or something like that. Literally for the first time in my lifetime, my 25 years, and some of you are younger than me, you probably think, what the fuck, sort of thing. If you're older, you've been around this sort of thing. Do you get it, people? So we need it, the financial rewards, and they could have consequences. Now, being in Europe shouldn't really affect us. It will affect us because obviously we're in a delicate financial situation, but by the same token of that, people, I heard Arteta specifically say a few months ago, we're planning for 3 or 4 scenarios. So that must have been, we're going to be in a scenario for if we, do what we've been doing for the last couple of years, just qualifying for Europa League. 1 for if we do hopefully get Champions League. 1 for worst case scenario, no Europe, which looks the possibility now, because domestically it's not going to happen, but barring a miracle, even if it is mathematically still possible, which I can't verify at this moment in time, to be brutally honest. There's still obviously that Europa League, all our eggs are in that basket. Us failing on the field has directly correlated to our problems off it. We're in a delicate situation financially. Our lack of preparation off the field is contributing on it, and is why we're here. So it makes full sense, if you love your club as much as I hate Europa League, to see us in Europe, and we need to do that. Listen, prepare for the worst. I've accepted we're not going to get in it, because even in our best of days, there's a tough task against City. But same way, you know, it sounds cliche, magic of the FA Cup. I know there's no Wenger, there's no Alexis, there's no Ox, there's no Monreal even, you know, there's not even a Mertesacker, but Holding's still there. There's no one that was really there when we beat City. Obviously, there's a couple men, but you get it. So beyond the magic of the FA Cup, and at the end of the day, it's a cup game. I don't really have much hope. But same way, if I was Arteta, I'd say, listen, boys, go out and enjoy it. Go out, honestly, that's what you can say. Go out and enjoy it. Because in my head, I know we're going to struggle against the City team. But I'd be trying to make sure these Arsenal players believe that they're every bit as good as them players for 90 minutes. I don't want to see no inferiority complex. I don't want to see us looking at them and admiring how good these players are, how good they are individually. I don't want to see people in midfield admiring how good Kevin De Bruyne is. Fucking put 2 on him. If he tries to dribble, 2 on him. Tight to these players. Follow runners. It's the same book, people. And we'll still probably struggle. But I want to go out fighting. I want to, if we lose to the better men. Like I was saying before the Liverpool game, we lose to the better men, people. City were the greater team. You know, the individual quality showed. I don't want to lose in the same way we've typically when we played City. Saying that, I've been here in a cup final where Arsenal played City, and people on defenders are being, Sergio Aguero's not being marked. He sprung the offside track, and rather than track back, defenders in a cup final are putting their hands up. I don't expect to win, but what I won't accept is shambolic displaying, because you look forward to these things as little kids. You look forward to playing in cups, trying to win cups, trying to do things. This is what it's about. It's 90 minutes. If we lose, it's not going to be the end of the world, because most people would have expected us to lose, and the talk will shift obviously to the impact of not being in Europe. If City win, it's not that deep, you know. There's more headlines if City lose, and to be honest, Pep is quite blasé on the FA Cup. You know, he kind of, I don't want to say he don't rate it, but it's like he don't rate it. So by God's grace, I'm hoping he does us a favour. But we all know it's not, man. Even on our best of days, we still could get spanked by City 5-0 or so. But we need to be committed. I want to see brothers in arms. Like, Arteta should only have to tell you tactically, you know, my man, you got to follow him. Kevin, I want you to follow Kevin. He shouldn't have to tell you what the magnitude of this game is and what it means. Obviously, there's no fans, and it's going to be a bit weird. But it's at Wembley. It's a semi-final, you know. All the teams that are there deserve to be there on merit. And, you know, in the final, I don't play Chelsea, you know, because I actually want to beat Chelsea in the final, man. I'm tired of, you know, I'm still on Drogba for ruining us half the time. But if it was Man United, I'm sure Man United want revenge for 05. So there's some credible opponents potentially awaiting us. And City, you know, we could even see the prospect of a Manchester derby. And obviously for Arteta, it's another chance to try and defeat his, you know, his former mentor and good friend in Pep Guardiola. For the players, you know, I don't think you can get too much confidence from the Liverpool performance, because, you know, it doesn't change much. But in terms of, you know, there was some elements, in fact, there was elements of seeing out a game, something I called for, we needed to do, and we've missed out on doing that. You know, last week against Leicester and Spurs, dropping points from winning positions, we saw out the game. There's a bit of game management, you know. I think on the grand scheme of things, there were some nervy moments and heart-in-mouth moments in that first half. But we held, you know, especially Tierney and Saka in the defence. We got men behind the ball. We were difficult to break down and stuff. And it will be different beast against City, because City have their tails up. Liverpool took their feet off the gas. You know, they're not in any competitions anymore. They've won this. City are still playing in the champs. They still obviously can get to the final of this. You know, they're second at the end of the day. There's still many things for. You heard the City players speak when they beat Liverpool. Our season starts now. So logically, you know what to expect. It comes down to the finer things, especially for me, the last 25 minutes. We're excluding Liverpool's performance. We're quite dodgy in the last 25 minutes. And again, it's all fun and games defending well, being difficult to break down against City. It's that second half, it's that last 20 when your legs begin to tire, when they're bringing on subs if we are winning. You know, keep the same standards in the first 10, in the last 10 as the first 10. So I just want to see credibility in a performance. If we lose to the bigger men. We don't, you know, they had to really work to pop us open. It's not there's gaps or people are doing things like, I want to sit here and say, okay, cool, Kevin, Aguero, Sterling, they showed their quality. I don't want to sit here knowing that, you know, left backs and right backs were not in position, centre halves are not switching on, midfielders are not tracking runners, strikers are missing chances. Everybody needs to be fearful of letting down their teammate in situations like this. You know, everybody has got to relish standing up to be counted. I know there's no fans there, so to a degree there won't be much we typically expect from a semi-final. but you've got to you've got to stand up to be counted. And if you want to be a top 4 team this time next year, you've got to go to the Etihad or welcome Man City at the Emirates and be confident in your abilities to get a performance, to get a result against them. I know Bournemouth only lost 2-1. And they lost at the end of the day. But I'm seeing teams that have less ability than us put in more credible performances against City. And I think, to a degree, the first 20 minutes against Liverpool, we can't do that. Obviously, there's a golfing class and the mental aspects are completely different. But we was clearly doing damage limitation. And I think we knew we was inferior. Obviously, these players know they're not touching City players, but you can't believe that football is mental for 90 minutes. You know, as stupid as it sounds, Mustafi's got to believe he's the best centre-half in the Premier League. He's got to believe he's better than them. The strikers got to believe. You've got to believe, because I did feel first 20, we kind of started admiring Liverpool and looking like we're spectators. You cannot do that. Football is a mental game. You know, I'm pretty sure many of you have played for Sunday League teams. You've played teams and you've heard, my man used to be at Arsenal, my man was at Spurs, my man's a baller. They've won the London Cup, they've done this, and your team's been shit. You lot ain't done nothing, you know. You probably got man that smoke fags before the game starts, but somehow you man won. Now, that don't happen too tough, but somehow you man won. Why? Because there was belief at the end. And how many of you have been playing for sick teams and you lost to idiots? You know, how many of you have sat there in PE, you've been part of a 5-a-side, 7-a-side, 11-a-side team in PE, full of individuals, and you've lost to the team that is lesser than you? Why? Because there's belief and teamwork. We've got to believe. If you don't believe, there's nothing you can do. And, you know, someone like Arteta, you know, if I was him, the carrot of potentially beating my former mentor, my good friend, you know, getting my first win against a former club, advancing to a final in my first season, half a season, or whatever you want to call it, there's enough carrots to want to do well. Like, you know, just beating City would be lovely as an Arsenal fan. When last did we do that sort of thing? I think one of the last times we did it is probably 2015, and I can remember at the Emirates there was one time, ironically, Arteta scored against them. So yeah, and Arteta's won the FA Cup. He's been around the block. Some members of this team have been around the block in this regards. Like Holding, if he starts, you've been in this situation. You get Ozil's not going to start. You've been in this. Bellerin, you've been in this. A couple of men have been in these situations where we've been the inferior team, and I need my star men to fix up. Aubameyang, you know, I love Aubameyang. He's pulled through time and time again. Lord knows where we'd be without him. But if I was, and I do think he turns up in big games. I know he gets a lot of stick about it, and everybody needs to turn up. Everybody needs to behave like a big game player. Please listen to what I'm saying. But same way, I'm looking at my key men in the game like this. I'm looking at Aubameyang and I'm saying, I need you to do something. Lacazette, for me, he's in good form. He's played 2 big teams and he scored. I'm looking for you to do something. I'm not necessarily, obviously, goals and assists, but I'm looking at you to stand up and be counted. I'm looking at seeing a striker go and trap them and to their right, follow them back until you're almost in the right back position. I want to see them experience all the better players in this team stand up to be counted. Aubameyang, Lacazette, Pepe's his first season, but I've got to see you stand up to be counted. Give their fullbacks something to think about, because we know in modern days the fullbacks are very important, and we know for all of City's great play, midfield, defenders, all of this sort of stuff, they can even set up goals from their keeper. Their fullbacks are essential, you know, to have any hope. We can't, you know, if there's 2v1 situations out wide, we're fucked, people, pardon my language, because, you know, they can put in great crosses, they can take you down the line. For what scares me is go and see 2v1 situations where their wingers and fullbacks double up against us. There'll be a third man from City coming in shot, and he won't be picked. He'll be making a midfield run, and he's not been picked up. That's literally been the play that's messed up Arsenal several times. So we need to be switched on. This ain't a game where you think you can just turn up and do things, people. I just want to see credibility in the performance, people. Like I said, our landscape of our team for next season, depending on if we can get that 30 million in Europa League, could affect what we're doing in the market. So we're playing. This could be the difference between signing a centre-half or 2 centre-halves. I'm exaggerating a bit, but you get the point, people. Clearly, with the players, you know, Aubameyang was rested. Whether that's through fitness, I think that, you know, there's been fixture pile-up. Aubameyang hasn't had too much rest. He's not invincible. But obviously, you know, a bulk of that has to be thinking about City. Arteta had to have named that Liverpool team with City in mind, or he would have started Aubameyang. So with that being said, it's just down to the lineup, people, really and truly. And for me personally, I'm going Martinez, Mustafi, Tierney at left back, at left centre half as well, with and pull over Saka. But we'll get on to that. Back 3 is where I'm having issues. Carl, I know David Luiz is a bit of a train wreck. I know Holding isn't perfect. I want Holding to play. I want Luiz to play. Now, Luiz, you know, you remember what he did the last time he played City, but when I consider the mental bits and needing to stay, you know, keep a calm head and all the variables that go into playing a semi-final or a final and things like that, Luiz has been in that territory. As much as Luiz is a fire hazard, he's very vocal and he's good at calming down the young players. And these sort of games, they're football in general, but these sort of games here, as much as it's about, you know, game management and all of these things, it's a mental game, people. So Luiz, sometimes he's a calming influence, and especially when you got Luiz and Tierney next to your Saka, two people speak to him all the time, might be decent. Admittedly, I think Mustafi deserves his place in the team because he's been decent. Holding and Luiz, you know, in terms of experience, even though it's overstated, I'm going to go with Luiz, even though Rob Holding has been in this situation before. You know, it's lesser two evils. I don't believe in any of our centre-halves really and truly, apart from Tierney, and really Tierney shouldn't have to we shouldn't have to consider a world where Tierney's being pulled over there, regardless of if he can do it or not. So for me, like I said, Martinez gets in goal. You know, his distribution was a bit shocking in the week, but he made good saves and he had a good game. So, you know, I'm going with Tierney's left centre-half, in the middle Luiz, on the right Mustafi. Fullbacks, it would be Maitland-Niles for me, but I can't see Maitland-Niles starting, so I'm going to go with Bellerin, and I'm going to go with Saka doing a job for me in that role, people. Him and Tierney, you know, let's make it a back five. Let's remain compact, be difficult to break down, follow our runners. The midfield is a dodgy area as well, because you want to get Torreira in there, but I do think he'll go with Ceballos and Xhaka. It's amazing how Xhaka doesn't show any signs of fatigue and things like that. I know he had a bit of a knock towards the end of the game, but I would, like I said, man, I would actually go Xhaka and Torreira. I think Ceballos probably has to be the one to play with Xhaka, but I think Torreira's got to start, man. We need to be able to put a foot in and recover the ball, and, you know, Ceballos can do that, to be fair, but he's not what Torreira's doing now. And I just think we need someone in there that could do that, really and truly. So like I said, man, Torreira, Xhaka, Saka and Bellerin complete the midfield four, or really two fullbacks, because I want it to be a back five. Up front, you know, I was actually going to play Saka up there so I could get Ceballos into the midfield. But I need Saka to do it. For me anyways, I'm not the manager, in my opinion, don't mean anything. But I just need Saka to do a job with Tierney. You know, if you can knock down Salah, you have half a chance against Mahrez, Bernardo. My word, they got so many options. In my head, I just see bare City names, you know. It could even be Foden on the right wing. Foden's a baller, lovely player, you know, gonna go off and maybe even be City and England captain one day and be a world-class individual in his own right. You know, it doesn't matter who they play. Next season, he's gonna have a big season because he's going from being this young player to, I'm starting every game, I'm Phil Foden. When you think of City, you think of me, Kevin De Bruyne and all of that now. Like, we're kind of central figures within reason. So for me, you know, I'm going with Aubameyang on the left-hand side. Now, I'm a big fan of Aubameyang through the middle. Next season, I want to see that if he is there. But I understand why he plays on the flanks, just generally, and Arteta's thinking, because it's a cheap way of achieving some sort of balance. And I feel, while I like him through the middle, and Kyle Walker will still get forward, and he should back himself in a foot race against Aubameyang, Walker might think it's not that sort of party where I can go and be another winger, because, you know, if I get caught in a foot race, if I give myself too much distance to cover, Aubameyang is there, sort of thing. And I think similar to the left-hand side, which I believe is our key area to exploit, which Bellerin, you need to overlap and create a thing, especially if it's Mendy. I want Pepe there, you know. We can't, as much as I feel in my gut, if I didn't have the Saka thing, like having to go fullback, I'd go with Saka instead of him. But at the end of the day, we can't spend 70 million on a man being a semi-final and he's not used. I get why he wouldn't, but I wouldn't go with Nelson. I think similar to Liverpool, if Pepe does from the beginning what he did in the last 10 of the first half and the whole second half, be an outlet. Because if the game goes the way I expect it to go, they're going to be on top of us. We're going to struggle to get the ball out. So if we can, the rare opportunities we can, I want our it's difficult when our midfield is in it, but I want our front three to hold on to the ball. And someone like Pepe can be an outlet. Just by him going on a little dribble and getting fouled, relieves pressure, allows us to get up the field. Of course, I want him to be the difference maker, do what he did against Brighton, against City and things like that, and whatnot. Aubameyang, you know, I want Aubameyang to step up. I feel Lacazette's the man I'm looking to because he's hit a real little bit of form right now, especially not even the goals in this, it's just the way he's been carrying himself in the last 2 games. For me as well, like I keep saying, the last 25 are crucial because, you know, it could be a thing where we're defending well for a large period of time, but when we begin to tire is when the gaps open and cheap mistakes happen. By God's grace we win. I don't know what to expect, people. Don't know if Ozil's going to be involved, but I do think it's a game for him to be on the bench. So yeah, I think I should recap that lineup to say it again because I was saying there. We've got Martinez in goal. We've got a back three of Tierney, David Luiz and Mustafi. At fullback, you've got Bellerin and Saka. Midfield, I'm going with Torreira and Xhaka. And then obviously up front, 3-4-3. I'm going with Aubameyang on the left, Pepe on the right, and you know, Alexandre Lacazette through the middle. Now, not too sure. Can Eddie Nketiah be involved now? He must be able to be involved. He must have done his time now. I'm not too sure. But either way, there's that. You know, Martinelli isn't going to play any part for Arsenal in 2020 as a whole because he's had surgery on his knee and we wish him the recovery. Leno's not going to be involved. But it's time for people to stand up to be counted, people. Because listen, this game isn't going to change anything or your performance. But for me, I'd be very concerned if we done some of the old habits we've got in a semi-final. If you cannot be up for a semi-final, if you cannot play with any credibility in a semi-final, if you cannot put in a good performance in a semi-final, then with all due respect, how are you going to do it midway through the season when you might go somewhere like Sheffield away, where it's literally just 3 points on the line, or you might play another promoted team? How are you going to do it if you can't do it in these contexts? Stand up to be counted. What side of destiny did these players want to be on in relation to that game? That's what I'd say to them if they did watch Deluded, which they don't. Make sure you want to be on the right side of history. Do you want to be part of the first Arsenal side since 94, 95, whenever that didn't play in Europe in any capacity? That should keep you up at night. If you don't want to be part of that, make sure you leave it all in the ring at Wembley against City. Too many times when we've lost, you know, there's been times I think players could honestly look themselves in the mirror and feel they've done more. Don't leave that field knowing that you could have done more. When you go bed, whether you've won, lost or draw, leave that field and look in that mirror knowing, I gave everything. I gave everything. Everything in the tank I gave. And then that's it. That's it. That's legit. That's really it. Be fearful of that. And are they truly fearful of that? Only time will tell, but we'll see tomorrow, people, you know. So, in relation to my preview of Arsenal versus Man City and what I expect, I've been here rambling and waffling for a minute. Let me get out of here, man. It's always a pleasure speaking to you guys. DG.